Hi there, it's Andrew Weiler here today. You will see that it's a bit colder today than it was yesterday when I recorded that video about language learners. So here today I'm going to talk about how the teachers responded to the survey I sent out about what their single biggest concern was. Well, those of you who have been teaching for a while won't be surprised to hear that the single biggest concern that came back was the area of speaking. Speaking is an area that most teachers will find the hardest to teach, as it were. A lot of the materials there are more formulaic or alternatively, on the other side, very, very creative, free-range dialogue, etc. And so the question is how to marry the spontaneity that's required in speaking as well as the language control, at the same time overlay with the need for students being motivated and all that. I'll say a little bit about that because in relation to that issue, and also in that way get on to the other issues that were raised. So the one response that I can have to that, which I have not talked about before on the site, is a need to be authentic. Authenticity is a quality that's human quality, as well as a word we use to describe text, usually written texts in the area of language teaching. A lot of talk about the need for authentic text, but I think here I want to talk about being authentic as a human being. And authenticity is a quality that will have your learners recognize it. It's one of the quality that speaks across cultures, languages, peoples. No matter where you are, who you are, people recognize that if you are being authentic or not. So in a classroom environment, if one can be authentic, motivation, in a sense, is enhanced. Obviously, it needs to do more than that, but authenticity is where it starts. If one can actually stay in the present moment with students in the class, and so they are also being authentic. So for example, in the beginning levels, it's more to do with what students can see, hear and do, and talking about those things. And then not only about talking about it in a way, but also structuring it in a way that enables them to work with language control. That way, the teacher's being authentic about what's happening at the present moment, and so are learners. In the more advanced levels, authenticity can be expressed in discussing more difficult areas. And so more difficult, for example, personal problems. For example, discussing things like not letting your teenage daughter go out and what is the response to that. So people will respond to that from their own experience, either as a teenager when they were young, or as a parent, or as what they think. And these are human sort of problems that each person can relate to. And if one encourages them to be authentic and relate their own experiences and who they know and what they know, the whole quality of the class becomes quite different. The task then becomes for the teacher to stay on focus, and so encourage that authenticity about the topic, but at the same time flip over to the language forms, the pronunciation, the terms of expression. And if you focus on the need for clear meaning, clear, unambiguous meaning, and students will be lapping it up, and then you get them to work on how to express it better. And here's where you focus on the language, and then you can flip back over and focus on the actual content. And there's like a dance between content and language forms. And the teacher's role is actually to orchestrate that dance going backwards and forwards. And the more present you are to what the students need and the energy levels, the better this can be. And the more carefully, of course, you are about how you work with them on the language, that will also, of course, enhance the whole process. So this working on language forms, this was another area of concern expressed in the survey by teachers, is how do you balance working on language forms and letting free discussion? My response to that is not to segment it. So today or this morning we're going to teach on one thing, and then we're going to teach another thing in the afternoon or whatever, 1 hour next hour, but in fact it happens concurrently. And by doing it concurrently, you can actually work on the pronunciation for 5 minutes, and in the next 5 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes or even 1 minute, you work on, for example, the way something was expressed in the grammar forms, and then you go back to the content. And then you ask a question about the content. And so question forms can be looked at in terms of language forms. So by working backwards and forwards like this, the concerns that were raised in the survey keep the students really motivated in any area of language. And so, for example, the issue of intonation came up, of how to actually teach that. we add intonation when we want to put extra meaning into what we say. And so when we put that into the context of hello, why did you do that? That intonation in terms of the context of the discussion becomes quite different if you say hello. So the intonation becomes more sensible for students when they understand the meaning behind it, and they're engaged in it and they relate to it and they want to express it, rather than teaching intonation as a separate skill. So I'll stop there for now, because the area of speaking and how to teach the various elements of it really was the main issue that came up in the survey. I trust this has been of interest to you. That's all for now. Till next time. Bye for now.